Okay, so it is 6 o'clock on the 17th of February. We're going to call to order the meeting of the Halifax Finance Committee. This meeting has been posted in accordance with the provisions of MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20B, and is being recorded and will be posted on the Area 58 Community Access Channel. The Finance Committee Chair reasonably anticipates that the following matters will be discussed and or voted on at this meeting. Agenda items may be taken out of order for time management considerations. Committee members present are Mike Bennett, Frank Johnston, E.J. Bryan, Mike Rignetta, Rod Hemingway, and myself. And we, as this is a virtual meeting, all votes will be done by roll call. So now we will move into our agenda. The first line item is meeting minutes. There are currently no meeting minutes that have been circulated for this meeting to be approved, so we will bypass that specific one. I have sent a request to the Finance Committee Secretary to just get a status on the last couple sets that we need to have in hand. So hopefully we will get those before we meet next. With that said, we can move actually into our next and probably most important agenda item, which will be our budget reviews. So we have it listed out that we will do the police department, the fire department, our IT department, and then building maintenance. So with that said, Chief Chavez, I see you and the assistant chief are on the line. So why don't you go ahead and take it away, whoever's going to present. Can't hear you, Chief. You're on mute.
We'll try that again. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Chief. Good evening.
Chief.
How's everybody doing? All right. So I guess probably the easiest way to go about doing it would be to go through the budget sheets.
Sure.
So I guess we can start off with line number 44, which is the wage and salaries for the police chief and the deputy chief. That is fiscal 27. That is all contractual obligations. The deputy chief's wages, his contract is scheduled to expire. He's in negotiations with the town right now. So obviously that amount would have to be changed going forward. So if anybody has any questions on line item 44. No, everybody's good? Okay. 47 is police department clerical. So she's part of that new union with the administrative secretaries, I believe library, I think council on aging, I'm not sure, and I think water department, I think. I could be missing a couple of different people. So she's scheduled for a step increase on July 1st, 2026, and then another step in September 28, 2026. It's part of their new contract they signed. She has a longevity, which is also contractually obligated, and then I have put in a number of $5,000 for public records requests. We have been flooded, as every other department in law enforcement and also in town government have been flooded with public records requests. It's taken away from her normal duties. Obviously, if the finance committee decides to cut that amount, I'll have to encumber those the overtime that she has to work to fill those out of my overtime line item in my expense, in my general wage line. So that's just basically it. It's getting to be so much, like, she just gets caught up, and then we get requests not only from the Department of Youth Services, from insurance agencies, and now because of the new body worn camera program that we instituted a few years back. Everybody that in any case that we have, as soon as they find out they have body worn camera footage, they want a copy of that. So she's involved with that, also with the evidence sergeant. So it's taking up a lot of the time, and so that's why I put in that amount there, just for that. Any questions on line item 45? 40. I'm sorry.
Chief, just real quick in regards to that $5,000, the additional that you're adding in there, is that in terms of your estimate, how do you envision that aligning actually with the true need that you will have throughout the year to cover those FOIA requests?
So it's gonna be it's difficult because I really haven't done it. I really haven't gone back the last couple of years to see how much time, not much time, but how much of the overtime was conducted in those records requests. So it's kind of like an initial figure to kind of see how we do this year. It could be higher, it could be lower. So it's kind of just throwing it out there and seeing how things go with it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chief, I had a question, Rod Hemingway here.
Sure.
The 5,000 item there is that for your best estimate, like you said, for overtime costs associated with the FOIAs, or is it for other components?
No, it would just be for the 4 years. There's been times where, and obviously I don't ask her to do it, and I don't, I try to dissuade her from doing it, but there'll be times like on the weekend that she'll take, record requests and she'll try to catch up on them at home. And obviously, I have nothing in my budget to kind of compensate her for it. So we kind of, so it's one of those things. So I think it's just getting to be too much. Before, it'd be maybe, every couple of months, but now it's like it's getting just too much in these Freedom of Information requests.
And she can do the overtime kind of as she desires. Is there an approval process that she has to get from you for working any of this overtime ahead of time, or is it after she does it?
No, she'd have to request for myself or the
Okay.
deputy. Listen, I'm bogged down. I need a couple hours, to come in on a Thursday, or a Friday to get these things done.
Okay, thank you.
She'd have to request. She'd have to get approval from us.
Cool, thank you.
You welcome. Okay, we'll move on to line item 45. That's the policeman's wages. So the wages full-time, holiday, longevity, sick use leave, the retirement payout, and vacation buyback, all contractual obligations. So I have Sergeant Caprio. He's going to be retiring. So that is what we've calculated the town owes him in sick leave buyback and his vacation buyback. The non-use sick leave, so the figure is there. That's just, again, an insurance policy. Basically, if every officer in the department would come to work and not use one sick day, that would be the amount that we would be having to pay them. But again, in my almost 40 years of police work, I have never seen that paid out because guys, girls take sick time. That's so we in the past we've put that amount in there, and then in our finance committee meetings it usually gets gets cut, but it needs to be there because it's in the contract. It's a contractual obligation that kind of an insurance bookmark to have in there for that. The matrons, is the amount is the same as last year. It's basically, so we, if we have female prisoners, we have to bring in a matron to search them and also to watch them while they're in the cell block. So that's the amount. As you can see, in 25, fiscal 25, we had very little activity with female prisoners this year. I don't have the number offhand, but we had maybe half a dozen female prisoners, so that kind of covers that. For the matrons are two of them are town employees, Sue Lawless and my own administrative assistant, and then two other ladies that will come in if I know on per diem to do cell watches. The wages for the part-time officers, we've cut that down to $5,000 from last year, because right now we only have one officer that's considered a part-time officer. He'll take shifts every once in a while. He's a deputy sheriff. He's accredited. He's post-certified. He just and he's able to do cruiser assignments, but he just does it on a part-time basis, again on a per diem basis. So that's the kind of a budgeted amount for type of work we're expecting him to do for this upcoming year. Also, the wages full-time. The union will be in negotiations, or they open up negotiations with the town. Their contract expires, so those figures would have to be again changed, or depending on what the town and the unions negotiate with contracts.
So you haven't built any numbers into those, Chief?
We have no way to I mean, obviously we could assume that the bare minimum 2%, but it could be 1%, it could be 0%. I don't know what the union's appetite is, or what the town's appetite is, obviously, for their upcoming negotiations. So it's difficult to give you a figure. I mean, obviously, 2% it has been the going rate, but whether the union agrees to that or wants more, that's difficult to say.
Chief, where are you at on your overtime budget so far this year?
So I'll 1 second. Let's switch over here.
I mean, I can understand why you have the number in that you're asking for this year, just based on the run rate of the last 3 years. So That certainly makes sense. And if you add in the approved overtime in the last budget, you're actually like right at 250, like 249 and change for a run rate. So 250 certainly makes sense. I'm just curious where you're at currently.
Yep, I'll get you in a second. Okay, so far we're at 146, 980, 71, which is 65% of we've been allocated.
Mm-hmm.
One of the major driving factors is we had an officer on long-term, well, not long-term, but administrative leave with pay for quite some time. Obviously, his absence, forced us to fill his shift. And so that was one of the biggest driving forces. But we're at 65.32% of what we had been budgeted for. So we're at 146, 980.71 according to the last pay period.
Yep.
You have him back on duty now, Chief?
Yes, he's back.
So we're not burning up what's left then.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's back. We also had, I think we had two officers, actually two officers on FMLA. They both had children at the same time, within weeks of each other, and they were both working the same shift. So, again, caused us to backfill a lot of those shifts.
And they're back on duty as well now?
Everyone's back on
Everyone?
duty.
Okay.
We're at a full complement right now. Obviously, as you guys all know, the law enforcement, public safety, it's every day is a different adventure. So it's difficult to but right now we're at full complement right now.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. So Department line 46 is training. We're gonna level fund that to same as last year. Just for the committee's knowledge. This eventually this line item is gonna have to be increased. We have way too many unfunded mandates from the state in regards to posts. And police reform that was enacted a few years back. A lot of some of these training classes are $1,000 just for one officer to go. So when you look at I have 14 officers. So I'm out, if I spend $1,000 on each officer, which is kind of unheard of, it quickly goes away. So I have to really be careful with the training that these guys are able to go to kind of make sure that it's specific to some of their collateral duties or other duties that they might be doing for the department. So it's been and also as part of this training budget, we also have to take some of the ammunition and stuff like that. Some other that's obviously part of the training because we got to go to the range. So it all adds up. So it's level funded for now. I think we'll be fine with it again. But I think down the road we're gonna have to look at probably increasing this.
All right.
48 is our expense account. So I'm actually I've added an increase of $7,000, and that being because we're going to be losing Sergeant Caprio. We're going to have to send somebody to the academy, and obviously pay for their tuition, pay for their books, and so that's that would be basically the cost to be hired to hire somebody else to replace Sergeant Caprio. The increase, the other pretty much the other increases have all been just increases that are assessed by these different memberships and subscriptions and just equipment that things have gone up. Everything else is that's basically the biggest thing is the academy reimbursement. No, I'm sorry, the new recruit first expense and the first issue, because contractually we're responsible for buying them the full uniform, jacket, belts, all the equipments that come with the being a police officer, firearm, and all that other stuff. And obviously the internet service data processing, that's just increased fees. These companies, just keep increasing their dues, their licensing, and we're kind of stuck that having to pay these things.
So the academy reimbursement line is blank.
Yeah, so we don't do that anymore. So that's why it's one of these things that we need to clean up, and it's just so we before before what would happen is the officer would pay
Uh-huh.
to go to the academy, and then we would reimburse them for the like a couple until what he paid for.
Uh-huh.
Right now I think it's $3,000 I think to go to the academy. So they would pay it up front, and then the town would reimburse it. So we don't even need that line anymore because it's part of that $3,500 that we've budgeted for as part of the recruit expense first issue.
Okay.
So that's all in there.
So so it's capitated at 3,500, or could it potentially go over?
It could potentially go over depending on some of the supplies, but obviously I would have to just take it from somewhere else. It's hard for me to give you an exact cost on what a vest or a belt would cost when it comes out of the academy.
All right.
49, that's maintenance. So that's the electric, basically. It was increased last year in 26 because to meet the higher fees for the electric delivery, but apparently, I guess we just got some bad news from the program that the town was in. So I don't know where we're going to be with this because obviously we were part of that pot of funds and we actually just started paying our electric bill last month because everything else had been through credits. So I don't know if Steve can kind of speak to this a little further, but I know that there was a meeting with the selectmen and they were notified by the company that they had. Because of the cold spell we had, it kind of threw off a bunch of the calculations, so that they were going to need to do some readjustments with that. So I don't know how that was going to affect individual departments in town. Again, maybe Steve can speak to that a little further if the committee would like that.
Yeah, so I can speak to that real quick. The average price difference should be about what were they saying, $10 to $15 a month? I think it was $10 to $15 a month on the average customer would be the amount of savings, as opposed to, I believe before that it was like 30 to 45. I'll have to check the math, but it shouldn't be a huge difference. I mean, over the course of a year, I think you've probably put in the $1,500 increase or level funded 21.5. I don't see the municipal aggregation being a huge factor in that unless the rate stays the same. It's supposed to be refixed again this summer once the rates come back down. So we can address that as it comes along.
All right. Very good.
Thank you.
All right.
Cruiser maintenance, it's level funded. Again, depending on and depending what happens with capital and I'm trying to get back to the program with having 2 cruisers because we only had we got cut back one cruiser last year. Obviously, if we get cut down again to 1 cruiser, we might have to revisit this, or we're going to be cutting it really close to, for the fleet of our size to try to manage with just the $20,000, obviously, with the increases in parts and labor and all that that entails. I can tell you that. Hold on. Cruiser maintenance. Well, right. So right now, we're in February, and we've spent about $10,000 so far in on fleet maintenance. So just to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. It's every year we kind of close. I think I feel pretty confident that we can get through it for another year. Depending on what happens at capital fund, capital planning, and the that hearing.
Okay.
I think the only okay. Excuse me. And I think the only other thing that involves the police department, unless I missed something, is line 69, which is the animal control expense account.
Mm-hmm.
That is a contract between Town of Halifax and Precision Wildlife that the town negotiated. It was 31,200 for last year. That's what I put down. We can have some discussions on this, depending on what the appetite of the town is. Obviously, if the things get, if cuts have to be made, and we just, they decide to cut this and this contract or not renegotiate this contract, because I don't know what the company's going to say. What they might say, we can't do it for 31.2, and so we have to kind of think outside the box and come up with some. We have some ideas that, where we can do some sort of like regional thing with some of the other ACOs or something, in order to kind of mitigate the loss of if we do lose the animal control officer.
So he's currently not a shared resource with other towns?
No, well, he's shared with so this company has a separate contract with the towns of East Bridgewater and Bridgewater. So
Okay.
that's not a regional agreement. That's his company negotiated a contract with Bridgewater, negotiated a contract with East Bridgewater, and a contract with Halifax, all separate. I don't know what the company's appetite will be to do a regional thing. So we're kind of already been having some discussions with one of the ideas that we threw out there is have one of our officers attend the academy, the animal control, because the state requires them to go to the academy. It's like one day. I think it's like one day a week for a few months. It's up in I think it's up in Grafton, and because they have to be certified, all that other stuff, and then give that officer a stipend, and then that officer would take the responsibilities of having the animal control duties in Halifax. Obviously, I can assure you that it would be less than what we're paying now for that for the company. But obviously, also the company has their own vehicle, their own equipment, stuff like that. So we'd have to refurbish one of our old cruisers, get some of the other equipment to kind of get running with the program. But it's an option that's out there. Obviously, when you guys start really digging deep into these budgets, and if that's one of the options that's out there.
Okay.
Chief, how often do we use the third-party contractor on an annualized basis?
All right.
Approximate number.
Yeah, I'll get you that. I'm glad we're doing this virtual, so I can have access to all my computers here. Because if not, I'd be lost. All right. So in 2025, there was 290 incidents reported. So out of that's all every incident. But so we had a response from the ACO, or a call for a animal control for 211 calls for 2025.
211 out of 290.
Yeah. So then you add, the 290 is you have 7 dog bites. You had 21 incidents with dog versus dog, and then about 45 animals that are lost, missing, or found. So what happens a lot is that, somebody will call, hey, listen, Fido just ran out the yard, dispatch will notify the ACO. He'll respond, or sometimes he'll just, the contract says that they will at least call the callers, so they'll get, do some phone
Contact with
contact and
Yeah.
some follow up and stuff like that. So about 290 total incidents in 2025. There was about 113 citations issued, and we impounded about 22 dogs. So the citation actually dropped from 2024, and big part because he was actually proactively out there, issuing those citations for people not paying, not licensing their dogs. So that's
So the citations are more associated with non-licensed animals then
correct.
versus an incident.
Yes, for the most part, probably like 98% of them are all for unlicensed dogs.
Now, we started that contract, 4 years ago, Chief? 3 years ago?
3 years ago, yeah.
And he was at 20,000 then, correct? Initial contract, I believe, was like 20,000.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 29,952. So what they actually did is they took the salary of our animal control officer that we had at the time. That was an 18-hour employee, and basically kind of rolled her salary into this contract.
Right, and now we're up to 31,000.
31,200. Yeah.
And this is a 3-year contract we just signed.
No, I think it's Cody signed the year to year because
Year to year. Okay,
Yeah.
so it'll be up in July then.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
So we got a little time to think about how we want to manage that,
Yes, sir.
because I'm sure there's going to be another contract increase in July.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the he had brought up a pretty significant increase, and Cody said at the time you just couldn't do it, so they agreed to do a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
And then to see how things went.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think that about wraps it up for me. I think, unless I missed something, but I think I pretty much hit on all my line items. I don't know if Lindsay's got anything on her end that I missed.
No, I think that was good.
Okay.
That's pretty good, Chief. So the only ask I would have, Chief, is that if to consider kind of bringing the ACO in house, if you could just take a look at what the approximate initial investment would be, that would be very helpful.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I have one more regarding the animal thing. Are we still dealing with Lakewood for boarding
Lakeville?
of the animals?
Yes, Lakeville. So
Lakeville, yes.
Board of Selectmen signed a new contract for them because we obviously our kennel doesn't allow for a long-term holding of the animals. So basically, if we can't find the owners, or if there's we had an issue where there was a medical and the owner had to end up in the hospital for a few days, then the animal actually that owner released the animal to Lakeville, and then that Lakeville goes ahead and tries to adopt the animals out. So Lakeville's the long-term type of deal. They'll try to adopt all the animals out from their facility.
Yeah, and so we have cost associated with that as well, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
On top of the ACO's cost.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where do we cover that cost at in your budget?
So that would come out of the town's. That was a MOU that the board just signed. I'll tell you. So that's it's the annual fee of $500. And I think what that comes out of is the dock fund. So basically, the fees collected by the licensing stuff.
The licensing fees cover it
Yeah.
then.
Yeah,
So
that
it's
comes out
coming
of
out of Sue's budget?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's 500 a year?
Yeah, 500 a year. Yeah, yes, sir. And then it's 25 a day for the depending on how long, per day
For the
boarding of
accommodations?
yes, for the animals.
Okay.
So I think that's it on my end. I appreciate you guys taking the time, and hopefully you guys can do some magic.
Thanks, Chief. I appreciate it.
You will.
Appreciate your time, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Chief.
Chief Whittam.
Yes, good evening, everyone. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Alrighty. So I guess I'll pretty much do the same thing as Chief Jobs did. First of all, appreciate your time. Happy New Year to all. I think, Chief Jobs and I did the same exact thing. Went through our budgets pretty, with a fine tooth comb and try to cut back as much as we could. And where we could, obviously with all the increases with everything, throughout all the memberships and dealerships and everything else we deal with, it's just tough to do sometimes. So I'll start off to the same thing. Line 51, that's my budget in negotiations this year. So I basically kept that the same until I could figure out what the new contract would be. Line 52 is my admin. Obviously, hers was the increase contractually from the new union that they're in. She also has a longevity increase of $30. That was the total increase of her budget there. Line 53, we're getting into wages. Wages full-time. You want me to go through each one of these, or you just want to have questions for me, or how do you want me to do it?
However you're comfortable with, Chief. You can go through it each specific line. I leave that to you.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So full-time wages, obviously, what I put in there was all of the contractual stuff that we need. There was a potential sick time buyback for, a few of the members there. That was $9,000. That's contractual as well. So, and then the 2% with pending contract. So that's what the raises are for full-time. Part-time wages was pretty much the same thing. I added the potential for 2%. And then obviously I added some funding in there this year for a part-time medic position where I created the new part-time paramedic position. I put in $9,216 to cover a couple of shifts. Technically, if you break that down into how many shifts I get, I ended up getting about 12.8 shifts throughout the entire year for the $9,216. So try to keep it at a minimum, but also, creating that position where it's going to be useful in certain areas, which I can explain later on. But, I try to put some money in there to cover some of that. So overtime wages is where it gets a little crazy. Obviously, getting beat up left and right. Same thing with the chief. We have people out on, FMLA. We have people out on 111F on injury. I've got two people out, one for 3 months, one for 2 months. I have one person out right now on FMLA. I've had people out in the past year at different times for FMLA. I think at some point the town probably needs to look at maybe setting aside a fund or some kind of way to fund that, because obviously it's, we can't predict that. We can't predict if they're going to be out with kids or family sick or whatever the case may be. But it adds up very quickly. Not only am I paying for the person to be out, but it gets pretty expensive at times. So, it's something that town might consider later on in the future. But basically just added the 2% into that. Holiday wages, 2%, nothing crazy on that part of it. Longevity, I have two members that are eligible for more longevity, which is the $520, so that was increased. Wage incentives was basically the 2% as well. Any questions on those, or keep moving?
Good.
Line 54, training budget. Training budget, I don't know which one you guys have. I met up with Frank and Town Administrator Lindsay, went through my budget here. So on the training, on the full-time wages was just basically the 2% across the board. Part-time wages, we don't have anymore. We just kind of add that into the full-time wages. Tuitions and certifications is where it gets a little bit crazy. I don't know what number you have on yours, but originally I had it at the 32.5 because we have an education incentive. I was able to cut that back $5,000 because I have to send an email out to the union to ask them who's going to use the education incentive. And I had a couple of people that didn't want to use it this year. So I was able to cut back $5,000 on that. So that should be down to 27,500, just so you have the correct numbers on that as well. Supplies that went up 2%, nothing crazy. Out-of-state travel went up a little bit, just because of the tuitions and all other kind of stuff and travel and everything else. And meetings is basically the same. So not much with that. Line 55, department expenses. So internet went up. Reason why that went up is because we got some MDTs for our trucks. There was 5 of our trucks that did not have MDTs in it, which is basically gives us the communications with dispatch, gives us turn-by-turn instructions. They can send us a message, say that, the code is this. So there has to have internet on those. We didn't have that originally. So got those new computers in there. So obviously our internet bills went up. 5 more trucks plus my cruiser and everything else too. So that's why that went up quite a bit. Office supplies, add a little bit of there. Uniform allowance. Uniform allowance is basically anytime I hire somebody, I put a little bit more into the uniform allowance because it's costing me roughly about $1,000 a person every time I hire somebody, between shirts and t-shirts and hats and winter coats. And a winter coat alone with a liner fully done is probably like $500 just for the coat itself. So then we have shirts. Shirts are about $38 a piece, embroidered. T-shirts, hats, gloves, everything else they need to get going. So, we're going through quite a few guys to try to get them into the system and everything else. So I had to add a little there. Added a little to first issue. First issue is basically anybody we hire. They have a uniform allowance to get started, get their uniforms, get their, Rubens, their T-shirts, their work boots, their, whatever they need. So contractually, I have to have money in there for that. The only other thing is that I changed on this too to get out of the communication equipment line. I had 10,000 in there originally. I cut that back to 9,000. I added another 1,000 on there looking for radios, but the discussion at our first meeting was I could cut that back, and I did so. So turnout gear was basically the same thing. I was fortunate enough that I could get some money from the town last year for turnout gear, but again, turnout gear is specific to the individual person. I had a few people leave this year. Their gear may not fit new people, so I still have to keep that in there to make sure that I have enough gear. Right now in there, I have enough for about 3.5 sets, the way it's set up. So I didn't go up too much.
Frank here real quick when we're talking about the bunker gear, the turnout gear. Do you have any in your capital too, or is it all right here?
No, I didn't do any of my capital. This is just for new hires and new hires only. So when I did it in my capital last year, it was for new gear because it wasn't compliant. So that's why I have to keep this in there, because if I hire somebody, I have to give them brand new gear.
So you have nothing in capital this year then?
I have nothing in capital. I have enough sets of gear that everybody was upgraded to be NFPA compliant. Right. This is just to maintain my staffing level.
Yeah, for new hires, right.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Line 56, station maintenance. Obviously, went up $1,000 on that. Electricity was the question earlier. We had credits. We don't have credits. Things went back and forth a little bit, so I went up a little bit there. Outside services, stations, getting a little older there. We're having a lot of problems with our Plimo vents, which is the exhaust capture system. It's getting old. Eventually, it's going to need to be replaced. But every time they come out, it's $700-800. Constantly, when the trucks go out, if the capture system doesn't release, kind of rips it off, does damage. We've had them out. Matter of fact, I just had them out there last week twice because of just different issues, air leaks, The hose is dragging back and forth on the rails, blowing air leaks in them, everything else. So I added money into that because, there's issues there. Some of the flooring, the paint's coming up, that has to be addressed as well. So I added a little bit. Vehicle maintenance, line 57. Added a little bit of money into there for outside maintenance on the ambulances. Although Tom does a great job and takes care of all of our trucks and does what he can to fix everything without having the new ambulance, we're running into a couple problems here and there, trying to maintain them. And I think just by the age of the ambulance and who runs them and 30 different guys driving them, had to add a little bit on there so that we could make sure that we have the appropriate amount of money to maintain the ambulances and keep them up and running. Line 58, it's our ambulance supplies. Basically, this jumped up quite a bit, and the reason is there was added $6,000 for a maintenance agreement for our stretchers. So we have stretchers in the back of our ambulance. It's a two-part system. We have a power stretcher, which is the stretcher that goes up and down that the person sits on, and then we have a power load. So when we bring the stretcher up, slide it in, it hits the power load pulls it in automatically. The maintenance agreement on that to certify them, to make sure that they're state certified each year, which I have to do contractually, is about $6,000. So it's a maintenance program that I pay into. It gives me batteries. It gives me service for free, no travel, no anything like that. I went last year without it. I took my chances, rolled the dice, and guess what? I lost. I fixed one of my stretches. The company came out and actually gave me a deal on repairing it, and it was still $7,000. So it's cheaper to have the maintenance program, make sure it covers both of my stretches. I have put them in under capital in years past. Obviously, we just weren't able to do it. So under my EMS budget right now, I have, when I purchased my Lucas machines, the monitors, stair chairs, all of that, I purchased a 3-year contract with all of those to make sure everything else was covered. So the only thing that wasn't covered is basically stretchers. One's a 2018 and one is a 2019. So definitely they need to be replaced, but they're a couple $100,000 a piece. So it's nothing, I can say, hey, we can fix it tomorrow by buying 2 new ones. It's probably $400,000 to $500,000 to replace them both. So I did add.
Did you add one of those into your capital numbers?
I'm sorry?
Did you add that when we talked about revising your capital sheet a couple of weeks ago? Did you put a stretcher in there?
I did not. I haven't finished and submitted my capital yet. I can to see what I wasn't sure we were going to be using capital or whatever. I wasn't sure what the budget.
Yeah, but I think that, so we can talk about it now. We can talk about it later, Jim. The capital there. I don't know how you want to handle that.
Okay.
We can
talk about that after. I can definitely put it in. I haven't submitted it yet, so.
Right.
Yeah, I think you should add that in there like we talked about with the ambulance the other day. And so we know what numbers we're looking at in the future. It's a 5-year plan,
Sure.
Give us that idea, especially if we're talking a couple $100,000 stretch and we got 2 of them. That's $400,000.
Yeah.
That's almost the price of the ambulance,
Yeah, I have it on my 5-year capital now. We just had to bypass it, so.
Okay.
Okay. Ambulance bill. Basically, we pay the bill per run. Obviously we got an increase in runs, everything else. So that was increased just to meet the demand of what we have going on, for runs and everything else. Emergency management, I just kept it at the same line item. I started at $5,000. I cut it down to 4. I cut it down to 3, and now I'm here at 3. Basically, this covers anything. If I have a storm, I need waters. I need, maybe coffee or something for a warming shelter or something like that. It also pays for the emergency management radios. I just did the license on it. It was $250 to renew it. The emergency management radios that we have, I purchased new batteries for them. I'm probably going to need new batteries again for them. So it just covers things like that. And that's about it. Anybody have any questions on anything I've gone through so far?
I do have a quick question, Chief, and
Sure.
I hate to go back over something, but if you could step back up to line 53, the wages for overtime. So if I read your detail, you said you added 2% into the overtime wages, which I don't object to that, but I think the math is wrong. Because when I add 2%
Yeah.
into 179,000, it's like 184,000, not 221,000.
Yes, but you got to understand that when I do the wages out, it's not just the 2%. So if somebody has, so wages would include potential degrees. So it's either a 6% or a 3%. I'm sorry, a 3%, a 5% or an 8% for associates. All that's added in there as well. So when I hire somebody new, I have to look at things like that as well. So it's the step raises, it's potential degrees, and then sick time and stuff like that too. So I see what you're saying, but if somebody's coming in, that has to be in there as well. If somebody walks through the door with certifications,
Yeah.
they have, for the first certification, it's $1,000, and then it's up to $3,000. It's $250 each certification after that,
Yeah.
to a max of $3,000.
Uh-huh.
So anybody that
if
has any degree,
Go
if
ahead.
anybody got a degree this year, which I had 4 people get their bachelor's degree, so they went from a 5% to an 8%, that increase. That's how the full-time wages went up that much. I see what you're saying. If you add 2% on there, the math doesn't come out right. But you're forgetting the degree money, the certification money, things like that are all added in.
How do all those extra add-ons impact overtime wages?
They impact overtime as well. So if they have
By
portion of that-
$50,000?
I didn't hear you. Sorry.
By $50,000, because you have 179 for this year, then you're asking for 221 for next year, which is like a $50,000 increase in overtime wages.
Yep. So overtime wages. Just grab this. All right. So my overtime wages, that includes step raises. So obviously that comes into play too. So the 2%, and then if they get a step raise for that year, that goes into their overtime wages as well. Degrees, a portion of that goes into their overtime wages. Certification money, that goes into their overtime wages. So that all accounts into what they get paid for their overtime rate. Does that make sense?
No, not really. Because if you're only taking regular wages up 30,000, overtime going up 50, which is overtime, I would think the regular wages would go up more based on what you're telling me than $30,000. If we're saying overtime is going to go up 50,000.
Yeah.
It's just, I just can't get the math's just not working in my head.
Yep. I understand what you're saying. The overtime wages, there's more on the back side of it compared to the wages, though, right? So anything that they get for degrees and everything else is also added into their rate. So their overtime rate goes up as well. I'll review the numbers and get back to you to make sure that I'm 100% right. I don't have them on me. I'm out of my office right now, but
Sure.
I see what you're saying, but I think I'm right. I went over them quite a few times.
Okay. I look forward to the feedback.
All right. Anybody else have any questions or?
Anybody else?
I was going to comment on Chief's statement about the compounding, the fact that overtime wages compound, like he was describing. So the base rate changes. Chief, are those billed out at time and a half as well? As far as the OT wages?
They're built out. But it's not a regular time and a half. So you wouldn't.
Right. So, but you're saying
time and a half.
Yeah, we can't take 2% because it's more like 8% when we're factoring in overtime wages. That's the actual increase of like a 2% increase to a base wage effectively turns into about an 8% increase on OT. 8 to 10%, anywhere in there, based on each increase you make because of the way the base wage compounds into overtime is what the chief's trying to explain. So the wage just becomes almost, and then depending if it's a holiday, it can be double time. So there's a bunch of different things in the contract that can blow up that OT number based on who is physically serving that overtime, based on the fact that if they have a bachelor's or if they have a master's degree or this certification, the rate goes up And that's all based on contractual language, not the chief's control. So I hope I helped explain it a little bit better.
It's difficult to understand, but
It is. It's very
I see it
complex.
because
Me
I
and
see-
Lindsay were talking
I see the
about
numbers,
this
but I
today.
mean,
Yeah.
So the short answer is
overtime
no.
rate-
I don't understand.
Okay.
Well, I
So yeah,
apologize.
and
I'll try to write
was
it out
us
so it
today.
makes it more understandable. But I mean, the normal person, like wage and personnel, I can take their rate and times it by 1.5 times, and that gives me their overtime rate. Unfortunately, on the union side, when they have other factors that are involved, I can't take it and do time and a half because that doesn't come into play with. There's
So
more other
what are you
steps that come
using
into.
for a factor then, Chief, to come up with that average number?
So I have a full spreadsheet on our
On each of your
on our pay
employees?
scale that has to
Yeah.
yes, that has to calculate out what each person has. So if that person has a degree, it's a portion. You know, it might be 45 cents, but each person has something different. That's, you know, if they have one certification, two certifications, all the certifications. You know, if they have all the certifications, that's $3,000. That may be $1 something into that calculation for their overtime rate. So their degrees, although they get their degrees, you know, they're 5% and 8% for associates and bachelors. You know, there is a portion of that goes into their overtime rate too. So I can't say it's an exact formula. It's individualized for a formula for each person because of what their certifications are, you know, what their degrees are, and other things like that, if that makes sense.
So you come up with an annualized overtime per employee, is that correct?
Say that again.
I'm just trying to understand how you come up with a number to build that with. You just run each employee out for the overtime? Right, you do that, and you come up with a total aggregate number?
I have
That's
to
the
do
number you use?
I have to use each employee and do each employee's calculation specifically. Now, keep in mind, I only have 10 full-time members. So the rest of them are under wage and personnel. So like I said, their time and a half is
Right, so the 10,
plus 1.5.
so you have a number for the 10 plus the wage and personnel, and that's where you come up with the 250 or whatever.
Exactly. So the 10 full-time members, I have to go through them individually. Like when I do payroll each week.
Right, and you come up with a total number for that of overtime, and then plus the estimated hours for the wage and personnel, and then you come up with final budgetary number. Is that correct?
Yes. I know it's complicated, but
yeah, I know. I'm just trying to understand how you run the number out and you come up with the total. Now I have a better picture of that by you doing 10 full-timers.
Yeah, I had to do 10 individual full-time estimates, and then I have to do the wage and personnel and then figure out what I have, and that's how I do it.
You combine the two numbers together.
Yes. So technically there's a lot of work involved, you know, and that's exactly what I'm saying. It's complicated. So trying to figure out the budgets and everything else and make sure that I'm on point is sometimes it's, you know, keeping track of things is a little difficult. But I'll review all the numbers to make sure, but I you know, I've been through them a few times. I think I'm really, really close. So.
Well, yeah, if you've got a number for the 10 plus the wage and personnel numbers, you add the two together and that's your number.
Exactly.
Is that how you look at it, Stephen?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I want to add one more layer. It's unpredictable. It's unpredictable.
Well, I understand that.
So as Chief will explain, as the year goes on, we can't predict when people will go on FMLA or take leave, and then we have to replace folks by paying effectively two people at once. And that's what's happened.
But that's pretty much the whole through all departments is like that.
Yep.
Yes, Frank, correct. Yep.
You're right. Now, I understand how that works. I'm just trying to get that base understanding of how we come up with the aggregate number that we're utilizing here. Now I have a better understanding of that.
Yeah, it's just a very complex process that takes a lot of time. And it's really only a ballpark figure. It can only be so accurate.
Correct. Because we could use less than that too, based on on how many FMLAs or sick or whatever the situation is, shortage of manpower or whatever it might be?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we would just have to patch it up at special town meeting if it ran over. So that's the only thing.
Right. Oh, understood.
Okay, well, I thank you. I appreciate it. I'll look at those numbers and, like I said, I'll try to get back to you in regards with, to some updates and see if I can explain it a little better.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Jim,
you.
do you want to have Bob go next? He's not really discussing his budget. He's just going to discuss the health inspector plan A
Sure.
and
Yeah,
plan
if he's
B.
pressed for time, yes, that's fine.
Bob, are you there?
Hi, yeah, I'm right here. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not necessarily pressed for time, but so my understanding is that basically, Lindsay and Steve, you wanted me to present to the finance committee essentially the same thing I did in the meeting a week or so ago with Peggy and you guys, just to kind of detail the situation or shed some light on the current situation of the health department.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I don't have my numbers in front of me, but just so you understand the situation in the health department. I don't know how well aware everyone here is, but so the regular full-time health agent, Bob Valerie, passed away unexpectedly on October 14th of 2025. And that kind of set into motion a lot of triage type of activity within the health department. But to go back to where that kind of all began is Bob Valerie hired me in 2023, funded by the Public Health Excellence Grant Program. And that Public Health Excellence Grant Program actually goes back to 2019. So I started with three particular timestamps that I'm going to kind of work through. So the state of Massachusetts Department of Public Health in 2019 came up with the blueprint for public health, in which they found there were a lot of problems in local public health departments throughout the 352 communities in the state of Mass. They then, in turn, developed this program through the Office of Local and Regional Health called the Public Health Excellence Program, where they took the 352 communities in the state of Massachusetts and grouped them into these shared services arrangements. They created 77 of those shared services arrangements. COVID hit basically all the problems that were forecast presented themselves and were fully exposed during COVID. But also during that time, the Office of Local and Regional Health pushed forward with their Public Health Excellence Program. And it was during that time that they reached out to all the communities in Massachusetts to say, hey, we've formed this multi-million-dollar public health excellence program. We've developed these 77 shared services arrangements. Who wants to be a host community? And Bob Valerie, being the type of guy he was, he raised his hand and he said, I will be the host community for my shared services arrangement group. That shared services arrangement group consists of Halifax, Middleborough, Raynham, and the three Bridgewaters: Bridgewater, East Bridgewater, West Bridgewater. So Halifax is the host community, which by default, the host community becomes the program manager. And we have been funded now. We're on our third fiscal year of funding We're actually on our fourth fiscal year of funding, but we have a guaranteed one more year of fiscal funding with the grant. So we know that we're funded through FY27. And the grant, roughly, it's around $420,000 per year right now to go across the 6 communities. However, the host community is allowed to capture 15% of each year's grant funding. So Halifax this year had initially put itself in for 11%, and that was Bob Valerie being a good team player. And that was for $45,000. The host community can use up to 15% and will end up this year using up to 15%, going back to like I was initially discussing that when we lost Bob Valerie, we kind of went into triage mode. So what happened was Bob Valerie, after he became the host community for this Public Health Excellence Grant, he's now the Town of Halifax Health Agent as well as the Halifax Public Health Excellence Group Program Manager. One of his first orders of business was to hire me, and that was mandated by the state. Every shared services arrangement host community had to hire a shared services coordinator to help build up these public health excellence shared service arrangements. Bob Valerie and I had a good, strong history professionally. I myself have been in the local public health industry for a couple decades now, and I've been a public health director myself prior to leaving the public sector, going off, starting my own business. And then Bob Valerie brought me back in as the shared services coordinator. And I was working closely with him, and we developed this excellent team, this group, the Halifax Public Health Excellence Group. We named it. We actually were at like the leading edge of the statewide groups and have been used as examples of how to successfully implement the program. We created a tremendous cross-jurisdictional shared services arrangement where we had the full brunt of all 6 health agents being able to steer all the power of one single department into any of the 6 communities at any given time. We made leaps and bounds in the local public health field in our specific group. And then came October 2025 of this year. Bob Valerie suddenly passed away. And no one saw that coming. So he passed away totally unexpectedly. I got the call on a Saturday. I came into the office the following Tuesday because it was a long weekend. Sat down and functionally became unofficially the Town of Halifax's kind of sitting health agent, basically as a stopgap to stop any full-scale collapse of what we had built, because not only was Bob Valerie the Town of Halifax health agent, he was also the pin that held this whole public health excellence group together other than me. And so the only person that really could have stepped in at that time was me. And so I did at that time step in, and I think towards the end of November, I was officially recognized as the interim health agent for the Town of Halifax. And also during that time, I was going back and forth with all the lawyers and people from DPH and MAHB and everything to make sure we were able to reallocate the grant funding in a way that floated Halifax through fiscal year 26. So one of the, you hate to say any win or positive situation, but our group has floated Halifax and is able to float Halifax through FY26. Your department has basically been running because of the Halifax Public Health Excellence Group. So the reason that I had to kind of get in right away where I was to immediately triage the situation and not have anything too radical take place too soon. So when I went to OLRH, I was able to take funding out of a public health nursing line item because we never hired a nurse. And I was able to put it into consulting, and that consulting is currently paying a stipend to me to operate as the Town of Halifax health agent, and also covering the cross-jurisdictional dispatch where we're able to pull in any of the other 6 area health agents to conduct activities in the town of Halifax as necessary. So we're back up to fully operational status within the Halifax Public Health Excellence Group. However, part of the understanding when OLRH gave us the green light, and I apologize for being so long-winded, but part of the green light for OLRH to utilize the funding was that it was with the understanding that the town of Halifax had to be working on a long-term solution to be able to get up and running on their own again, which brings us to here and now. There are two concrete solutions. This all boils down to. One, the town of Halifax hires a new local public health agent. It would be their full-time health agent. If that were the case, then the group would immediately move to get another community to be the host community, because that would just be too radical of a change within the group to have it would be a new board member, a new health agent, and a new program manager. So what would happen, it would be another community would take the grant, be the host community, they'd get the 15% of the annual funding, and I would move with that to that town and be the shared services coordinator there. That's one option. The other option would be to have the town of Halifax, and I've been in discussions with Steve and Peggy, who I work very closely with, who's the administrative assistant in the health department, that we would come to an agreement that kept me here probably for another couple of years anyways, to allow time to see what the funding looks like for the Public Health Excellence grant. That's one big matter. We only know for sure we're funded through FY27. So that's one question mark that's still lingering in the air, that it's better to take another year to feel things out, really, to know what that looks like. And also, if I were to stay on, it would allow for the opportunity for me to develop a replacement in a long-term solution, one way or the other. And that's just kind of where we are at. And I hope I was able to kind of bring everyone up to speed, but I'll open it up to any questions you guys might have.
So Frank Johnston here. So you're here for the next 2 years, you said?
That is up to the town of Halifax to decide. So by the end of fiscal year 26, Halifax has to have decided on a long-term solution for day one of FY27. And that will either be they will have me contracted as the health agent, and I'll no longer be the shared services coordinator. So I would backfill that position. I would hire a new shared services coordinator, be the town of Halifax health agent, and also be the program manager for the Halifax Public Health Excellence Group. If the town of Halifax decided that they wanted to hire someone totally new, that is the other option, then I would leave. The grant would go with, we'd all go to another town, and you would have your autonomy as the town of Halifax, but you'd have a new health agent.
Hey, Bob, to piggyback a bit on Frank's question, I think. So you had said it'd be a 15%. The town can use up to 15% of the grant funding. We currently were using, in the last fiscal year, we used about 11%. This fiscal year, you're expecting that we'll do the full 15%. And then next year, fiscal year 27, is that the expectation that we would have? We would use the full 15% for the administration of that excellence group?
Yes.
Okay.
So we initially, the 15% that we started with for fiscal year 26 was $45,000. And I actually got approval at the end of last week to take the additional 4% because the town of Halifax was struggling. So I got another 4% into the town of Halifax and brought it up, I think, another 18 grand to roughly like 60,000 for the remainder of FY26. And yes, for FY27, Halifax would also be entitled to that $60,000 in FY27. And for however long the grant is there, as long as they're the host community. But definitely for FY27.
Thank you.
So Scott, what's the game plan going forward? We just now kind of trying to figure that out now, or Stephen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to put this in front of the FinCom because it involves quite a bit of money as far as the 60 grand essentially that will go with the grant. Knowing that will probably, I mean, my preference is to go with what has gotten us to this point. I've spoken with Bob during the budget meeting. He spoke to this very same story as far as, giving me the timeline. So I'm inclined to have someone like him stay on and get the next health agent for Halifax ready in a couple of years. The only thing I have a real question on is, would it take any money out of the general fund to subsidize you, Bob, as far as beyond the grant and beyond what we already have budgeted within, the health department as it stands today? So, I mean, I've got the health department open on my other screen right here, just looking at some of the numbers. So if you can answer that, that'd be great.
So my understanding would be that if I were to become the health agent for the town of Halifax, I'd be hired at step 1 of the health agent position. I don't have the paperwork in front of me, so that's what it would be, the step 1 of the health agent's salary, which is actually I think like 12,000 less than Bob Valerie was making.
Yeah.
At the time that he passed. And that would be it. There would be some discussion had on, so as shared services coordinator, I have accrued like 15 weeks of vacation, sick time or whatever. There'd be a figuring out of how to deal with that, whether or not to take, I don't know. That's not my,
Sure.
But that's something that would have to be, taken into consideration if I did stay, what that looked like, whether it carried or there was a payout on that or whatever. But otherwise, no, it would, there'd be nothing additional. You'd be paying the health agent's salary at the step 1.
Okay.
And we did that intentionally to allow for the town of Halifax to go in either direction. So I didn't do any of this like presumptively or as something
Sure.
that, I'm personally prepared to go in either direction. And I made sure that I set Halifax to do the same. For the group, personally, it is better for the group if things don't change too fast too soon.
Right.
But that's not Halifax. Halifax is Halifax. So, yeah.
Bob, just for clarification, did you say the carry with you is 15 weeks?
So I don't know exactly what it is. I'd have to look at the numbers. Like on my pay stub, I have sick, personal, and vacation accrued. And I don't even know exactly what that accrual is right now. I believe it's somewhere between 10 and 15 weeks worth of time. But that's at the shared services coordinator salary, which is currently roughly 74,000. But the shared services coordinator is an employee of the town of Halifax, but it's a fully grant-funded position. That's totally outside of the 15%. That's grant funded. The 15% that gets captured by the town of Halifax is all for Halifax to use. The shared services coordinator position is paid for by the grant. And so if the grant went away, the shared services coordinator position also would go away.
Okay. Understood. That's all I have for questions.
Can I just have a clarifying question based on what EJ asked? So that 15 weeks, is that if that's paid out at if I understand it, whatever that amount of the accrued total is that paid out through the grant in addition to the shared services So is that full payment for that, what you're owed? Is that through a separate amount of the $400,000+ for the communities? Or is that something that then falls back on the town budget? I don't know if I understood that.
Yep, I understand your question. Yes, that money is paid for by the grant. It was already allocated in the annual budget. So we have salaries, and then we have fringe benefits.
Okay.
So that payout would come from the fringe benefits line item in the existing fiscal year budget. So it would be no actual cost to the town of Halifax.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any
Just,
further questions?
I just have one comment. So just doing the quick math on the potential payouts, just so you guys are aware. Based on a $74,000 salary, it's about $35 an hour. On 10 weeks paid out, that gross is going to be 14 grand. And then on this is assuming a 40-hour work week.
36 actually for the
36?
yeah, for the shared services coordinator.
Okay, so it's 10. So that's like 12,600 on the 10 weeks, 12,600 on 10 weeks. And then $18,900 on 15 weeks. So that's your range. Just so you guys are aware.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And and just to reiterate the timeline, the health department is stable and operational through FY26, but there does have to be a solution determined and ready to roll out by day one FY27.
Understood.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Robert. We appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Good presentation.
All right. Thank you. Good. I'm glad I was able to get the point. It's a lot to get across. So
You did a great job. Thank you, Bob.
Great. Have a good evening, guys. Bye.
All right. Thank you, sir. Okay. So back into the budgets. We have the IT department next. So Caesar, you on?
I'm here.
And I couldn't find your budget sheet in the file.
I did try adding it, but believe it or not, I don't have permission. So I have
the
to.
IT director doesn't have permission.
Yes. So I will be adding that once I get into OneDrive on the back end. But I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Let's see. All right. So, can everyone see that?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet, Caesar. There you go.
Yep.
All right. So, I spent better part of this afternoon and evening really cracking down based on my recent meetings with Stephen and Lindsay, and as well as some of the meetings we've had with our vendors that we have, like Comcast and our software and hardware reseller. We're going to be continuing meetings throughout the next couple of weeks, but there are some changes, very good budget changes, I would say, that we're able to start consolidating as we have to, we'll have to start investing. We'll have to invest in, hopefully, if it gets funded, for the next capital season to replace some end of life hardware. And thankfully, with that, we're looking at a significant decrease with a lot of our licensing, based off of conversations that I've had thus far. Actually had a conversation with Comcast last week, where they were confident they were able to bring down our prices, if not leave them the same, which is, as you can see here, under internet service, wide level service, everything. So I guess I'll start from the top. Wages, that $4,112 increase is just my step increase calculated in for next year. Any questions there? Okay. Internet services. Broadband is our regular Comcast business internet service that covers the Pope's Tavern, Highway Department, and I think that's it. Pope's Tavern and the Highway Department. And then the next line for Town Hall Fiber, that's just for Town Hall. The Pope's Tavern and the Highway Department have just regular coax, the same shared business line that anyone would have if on a business account. The fiber is a dedicated circuit. We renewed last February to keep our pricing that we've had for the past 4 years for another 3. So I don't expect any increases there. And then cellular is the cell service to cover for the tablets and cell modems that we use for the elections and town meeting, and then the tablets for like the building inspectors to go out and do field inspections and record them into the tablets. But that's basically a synopsis of internet services. Any questions?
All right, Caesar, this is CJ. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Can we break this down a little bit?
Sure.
More than you just did. So the broadband fees, as you described it, it sounds like did you say Pope's Tavern, Senior Center, and Highway? That was it?
I'm pretty sure that's it, yeah.
Okay.
Because everyone else either pays for their own, or they're on, because they're enterprise, or they get it through another contract. Okay,
and that's through Xfinity, right?
Well, Xfinity is the consumer version, but yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Now, Town Hall Fiber, is that $12,000 feed, is that for the bandwidth that we're being charged for? What are they charging for? What is that 12,000 feet charging?
So that's our dedicated, our Ethernet dedicated, I forget what it's called. It's EDI. Which is so we initially had it at 200 up and down symmetrical. Yeah. And then we maintain the same cost as the previous fiscal years. And up to another 200. So right now we're at 400 over 400 symmetrical. So the reason, so the fiber was initially covered by ARPA for like the first 3 years. So I think last year was the first year we budgeted for it, or maybe the year before that, because obviously we had to take on that expense. You know, the ARPA money
you can turn it on.
Was dried up. So that cost covers the whole 12 months of monthly service, monthly bills that we get, which is about $1,000 a month.
$1,000 a month just for the town hall.
Just for the town hall.
Okay.
It's a little less than 1,000, but I basically it's what it is.
Okay.
It's like 970 or something like that, 980.
Okay. And on top of that, it's $4,300 for cellular for iPads, phone, things like that. Basically like a hotspot service.
So we have about 2 hotspots that get used, that get used by staff as they have to go out in meetings or if they need it for certain things. And then we have cell modems that we use for internet redundancy during unplanned outages. We just had one at the recycling center the other day where we had that in for almost a week. And then we also use the cell modems for which is what we'd put like in our ambulances for like town meeting, for the elections, for the devices to connect to securely and separately.
Okay.
And then the tablets themselves are service on the physical tablets. There's about I want to say 5 tablets.
Okay.
Four maybe.
Okay.
Four.
And all 3 of these line items are directly through Comcast, right?
No, cellular is through our cell carrier. That's AT&T.
Okay.
Town Hall fiber is through Comcast, but it's through their enterprise division. And then the regular broadband is through Comcast, but it's a business division. You would think that they would be synonymous, like one entity. They are not. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
But recently they actually just established their own government division, which is going to make the contract renewals and negotiations a lot smoother and a lot more beneficial for the town. Because prior to this introductory call that I had last week, I was dealing with whoever I got on the phone for the business accounts, and every call was basically useless.
Yeah. Okay.
But with fiber, we had a dedicated account manager, and they basically centralized that with the business as of like a couple months ago.
Yeah, that broadband fee just seems not the broadband fee, the town hall fiber fee is really high, in my opinion. But anyways, the only other question that I have for you on the cellular end of things, is there a reason why we're with a different carrier other than Comcast that we use for everything else?
So AT&T FirstNet is the carrier that we use for all of our cell phones.
Okay.
Because they provide the priority service, we get boosted service, and they're the preferred. And FirstNet. So AT&T is the carrier. That's the name brand they put on it. But FirstNet is the actual carrier. So FirstNet is essentially a 5th carrier, and it's specifically built and designated for government agencies, specifically first responders and public safety. And because of that, the FirstNet service we get very, very significant price decreases both on the hardware if we need to replace it, get it fixed, or even buy it, but also on the service. It's a federal carrier,
right?
Versus going with the consumer one where you're not getting that preemptive service, not getting the response that you normally would get as just a regular Gov customer.
Yeah, and in some cases, maybe even the capabilities might be different as well.
It's also for the sake of management, it's easier to keep all the cell stuff on one carrier. So you're not having 16 different plans.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Okay. Sorry, guys. I think that's all my questions. Thank you, Caesar.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Anything else?
Please continue.
All right. So licensing and maintenance. Best of it all. So our financial management, that's our financial management system. That's basically what we use to handle our books. That's what Lindsay uses day in and day out. That's what we use to process our bills, the tax bills. That's how that's also how we do our dog tracking. That's how we do our utility billing for water and trash. And this is a standard 5% increase that we've ever since I've been here for the past 10 years. That really hasn't changed. For the 5%, we are still in the process of migrating. We are we are on schedule for a July 1 implementation with the new system, but due to other factors, Lindsay and I can, she wants to explain on the accounting side. She can, but
So Caesar, this is the financial program that has been, for lack of a better term, withering away for the last 2 years. Correct?
well,
I mean, it's like we spent $80,000. We really have at this point in time, over 600 days later, nothing to show for it other than a guarantee that it's supposed to be ready to go on July 1st, of which, just personally, I have zero confidence in at this point in time, given everything that they have done up to today.
I can't. I mean, without looking, I can't say that we spent $80,000. I don't think that we have. I mean, right now we have a credit, and we've gotten significant discounts on a lot. I think when we negotiated to go into this, Cody was here, and I think we were going in knowing we were going to be a guinea pig, and I think these are just the consequences of that. I understand where you're coming from wholeheartedly. We're all, we've all had our, internally, we've had our frustrations. We have our talks with them. Other things have come up, not with them, internally, that may or may not affect that date. But yeah, I can tell you that the situation we're in, as I said in previous meetings, the situation we're in with them right now is more cost beneficial to the town than it would have been to go somewhere else.
Except for the fact that we don't have a product to use.
Right. We've got nothing.
Well, we do. We do.
No, we don't.
We're not paying for SoftWrite. We are paying less right now for a SoftWrite than we would have otherwise.
So what are we paying SoftWrite?
We're not. They're the one company. It's one company. They're both owned by the same company.
And what do we pay the current provider of our financial system?
I want to say our last bill was probably $30,000.
And that's what? Every 6 months, every year?
That's just what it was after all the credits because we weren't fully implemented.
No. I understand that. The system that Lindsay is currently using.
Yep.
Because she's not using the new one.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct.
So the one she's currently using, I don't think it's free.
Well, I'm not going to say it's free, but because it's the same company, the agreement is
I haven't had any today.
We're paying for this. We're paying for the SoftWrite maintenance, the SoftWrite licensing. All that is coupled with the new with the new software. We're not paying a separate company.
Yeah, but Caesar, can we go back a little bit?
Sure.
My understanding from last year's conversations about this software was, and Lindsay, you might be the one to correct me if I'm wrong on this or not, but there was a portion of their software that was not able to function in the state of Massachusetts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been resolved?
From what I've seen, basically, yes. But
So I guess
we had a meeting today that did not pan out.
Yeah, and
that
So
was
it's not
confirmed that.
working.
No.
Hold up. Let me just finish with my question here, because that's where I think the bigger issue comes in, where they're pushing and saying we're going to be ready to go for July 1. But we here today on February 17th can't say that we have confidence that they've resolved the issues that prohibited them from being able to function in the state of Massachusetts. And July 1 is less than 5 months away.
So what I meant by it didn't pan out was because we didn't have the staff internally show up. Had nothing to do with them.
Yeah, that was an internal reason. I will say that.
So when I said it didn't pan out, it wasn't that what they showed us wasn't going to work. It was
Okay.
just we were supposed to meet today to get actually answer that question if that part of the module that was not completed.
So Lindsay, have you been able to test any part of this software system with something that you would be doing on a daily basis as the town accountant?
I have not, no.
So there's been no interface, no GUI, no nothing for you to look at, nothing to test, nothing to, nothing for you to really say, I think this will work for the town of Halifax.
I have seen what was shown in the meetings.
Uh-huh.
The issues for the state of Massachusetts have nothing to do with my department.
Right.
They're in the billing side of things.
Okay.
So that is what they're currently working on. So for that part of it, I don't see that on a day-to-day basis in general. I see everything after it's received. So
Sure.
I can't even begin to speak on that part because I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if the other departments have seen it and it would or wouldn't work for them because that's
Right.
not my side of it. But for what I do, no, I have not been. I have seen what they have shown,
Sure.
and it does look great.
So screenshots. You've seen screenshots.
No, they go in and they have the actual program in like a test mode almost, and they
Right.
do go around and pull account numbers and how to set up vendors and how to enter bills and do all of that. So I have seen an actual this is how you do it.
Right. But
I haven't-
no sandbox that you have actually had your hands on a keyboard doing something.
I haven't, no.
Okay. All right. I don't know. It seems like we're chasing our tail here, Caesar. And Steven. Just seems like we're chasing our tail. Because I know this has gone on for at least 2 years since it first was discussed and began to be implemented.
Yeah, and my stance on this, and I've made everybody pretty clear on this. If I don't see results in the first time I sit down and meet with these folks, and I don't get more information or something that I can use, then Lindsay and Linda have made it clear that the software that is in their current use is fine by them. And we will resort back to that, and they will use that until the next opportunity presents itself. Because I'm not waiting around from a software that I've heard has made one town's finance department such a mess that it's creating even more work to clean it up. Because we cannot afford that here.
No.
So I am monitoring this very closely because I'm brand new to this topic. I had never heard of Springbrook before showing up in Halifax. I had never heard of Cirrus. I had heard of SoftWrite. I didn't realize they had these other extensions and were trying to rebrand essentially. I'm used to more of a Munis Tyler Technologies setup. So I know what good financial software tracking looks like, as complicated as it can get. And I'm not hanging around too long to let these guys dilly-dally around. So that's my stand on it.
Thank you for that. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Not on
Jim, I think
financial
it's
management.
actually closer to 3 years.
Is that what it is?
I really do. I think it's close to 3 years,
Yeah,
2.5 to 3 years. Yeah.
We've been talking about this a lot.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
I just think
And
it's
if they
all
can't get-
irrelevant, given the fact that we can't implement it to use it by July 1st anyway.
Right.
Right.
Never-
And the fact is, if Massachusetts isn't going to approve this in its form, what are we messing with it for anyhow?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, we should start thinking about moving on.
Yeah, it's time to pull the cord here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, at a
Wasting a lot
minimum,
of our manpower.
Well, it's sunk time. Nobody's going to get the time back.
Right.
No.
Putting a lot into this thing and we're getting nothing out of it except costing us money. through wages and everything else associated with it. Yeah, granted, they may not be sending us no bills. They're letting us use the old software, blah, blah, blah. But eventually something's going to blow up and we're going to get stuck holding nothing in our hand here when it happens.
Well, and given it another customer's had a very bad experience with it, not just a bad experience, but a really bad experience. You know, do we really want to head in that direction?
Right. As Steven said, we can't afford to head in that direction.
We've wasted enough time. It doesn't seem to be coming together. Maybe it's, it's definitely time for us to move on.
No, and it sounds like Caesar is trying to do everything he can right now, because the only thing that we can get right now is answers, right? We need to get answers to the questions, because the town deserves that. And I just know that this has been, to Jim's point, this has been out there for a while.
Oh, it certainly hasn't, and I totally 100% understand your frustration. We share these frustrations during our meetings. Based off what I've seen as of a month ago, they are on track for July 1. But
they're on track.
Jim definitely knows about this, that we have to now switch payroll systems.
Yep.
So initially, when I had said that our July 1 may be pushed out, it wasn't because of them, it was because of us. Because to do a payroll implementation roughly around the same time that we're updating our financial management system is not a good idea. So do I think that they are fully capable of hitting that July 1? I'm definitely significantly more confident than I was last year. And that's because I've seen the product. But again, I'm only a small portion of who can identify that.
Right. Exactly.
In the past two meetings that we've had, unfortunately, schedules just had conflicts, and I was the only one that showed up. So, like I said, we can definitely talk about it more, but I do understand your frustrations. They are shared, and your concerns are heard. Anything else?
Just Lindsay, one last question on this, I promise. With your assistant going out on leave, how would that affect you in terms of your ability to do any testing on the system or anything like that prior to July 1?
I think she would be back by then. My concern is, honestly, I care more about payroll and learning the payroll system, and I think everybody else does. Everyone wants to get paid and make sure that can happen properly.
Right.
We're going to have to do trainings for that with department heads and then individuals. So with the new payroll system and this going on at the same time as my assistant being out, it is going to be a lot. And I do think the payroll takes precedent over a hard July 1.
Right.
The idea is to line it up with the first billing. So then we know that all the pieces work together, which would be, Caesar, was that like October?
Yeah, it would have been,
or September.
It would have been October. It would have been our water billing.
Yeah, so that's what we want to line it up with, because we want to make sure payroll's good, because it's also going to be a different input for payroll for my end in a new system, because I enter it into SoftWrite as well. So it's going to be a new entry twice with payroll technically, for the payroll system for us to get paid, and then for me in the software to take it out of the budget. So that's where we are at with that. So I don't know that her going out would necessarily affect this part of it.
Okay. All right, great, thanks.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Server, email, and endpoint backup. There is $1,000 decrease on that. As we are as you guys know, we're doing our email domain transfers and everything, and going through that. We are, I'm really sifting down on where we have some of these, I'm going to call them third-party licenses to specifically towards the email backups. We went from, doing a basically 1-to-1 ratio when we first, when the Board of Selectmen first voted to put in that every employee got an email account. So we did a 1-to-1 backup at the time. Then we decreased it probably about 75% last year, and I'm looking at decreasing it like another about 50 licenses, and really narrowing it down to people who are here every day, and board of committees that heavily use the OneDrive functions and SharePoint and stuff like that, because the backups include that. And then as far as the server, the endpoint, we don't have any endpoint backups. That's just a word I put in there at the time. The servers, nothing's changing there. So those really the decrease is coming from the email backups, which is different than the archiving, which is the next line. Any questions there?
Have we done a license audit of the town? Of who has what licenses, who is no longer with the town, that we still have an active license that we're paying for, anything like that?
We do them every year, yes.
And the last one was done when?
July 1st.
So last year.
July 1st, 2025. So yes, last calendar year.
Yeah.
This fiscal year.
Yes, thank you. And the results were?
Anyone who's not an employee is not allocated a license.
Okay. So, I mean, did we find 10? Just ballpark it for me. Just curious.
I'm not following the question. Are you saying how many licenses?
So when you did the audit, how many outstanding licenses were we paying for that were not necessary?
I don't know, probably 10, 15.
Okay.
Usually, like I said, we usually leave a little wiggle room anyway, so that's usually anticipated for that. Mm-hmm. The decrease that I'm proposing in this would actually remove licenses from certain employees.
Okay.
So it'd be removing that wiggle room and then some.
All right.
For the email security and archiving, that's going down, particularly on this. We have for Mimecast, which is, as you all know, that's where you guys get those fun security trainings from. That's what this covers. This also covers our email archiving, our email. It's also our email security gateway. So, all the emails get scanned and URLs get, scanned for viruses and stuff. So there's an add-on that I think got as part of the initial package that allows us to use it for the secure messaging. That decrease that you see there of the $13.50, I'm going to be cutting that function out and then using the built-in function within 365, just because I don't think it's not used, and we're no longer in that period that the bundle necessarily applies. So that's where that decreases. Any questions?
So you think you're going to drop that 19,000 out of your budget, Caesar? Is that what I'm understanding, or did I misunderstand?
No, it's going to go down to 19 from.
Going to go to 19. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we drop 19, we'd be in serious trouble. All right. Any questions there? All right. Remote support tool. This is self-explanatory. This is the tool that is used for me to provide the remote support to all of the endpoint devices in the town, as well as board of committee members as they need it. one specific thing that I do have to have with our remote support software. It does have to be HIPAA and CJIS compliant due to the fact that it does touch our police and fire departments heavily. So that's the reason why it costs so much. But we use Beyond Trust, and we have I use it every day. I use it for everything. So, in order for us to be able to provide that remote support to our, MDTs and police officers and the devices over there, this is, we need a tool that's compliant with the CJIS requirements. So, and HIPAA for the fire department. Any questions? All right. GIS. This is just a mapping tool. We use Esri. It's a cloud-based software. This tool, his primary and sole function is to support the stormwater management program and MS4. So when our highway department needs to go out and do inspections and checks on the catch basins with work relative to VHB, that's where all this is done and hosted and recorded on this mapping system. That's what they use to build out the data points and the maps and the what have you. I know nothing about MS4, so I can't even. It's all as I can tell you. Any questions there? All right. Website hosting and maintenance. So this one does have a price hike. So Civic Plus is our website provider. They have a 5% annual increase that gets added to the contract every year. As you all know, we upgraded our website back in July. That was mainly due to our website platform being, it wasn't receiving support anymore. So they were basically moving people onto the new platform at the same rate that we were paying it with prior, which was Drupal, with still maintaining that 5% increase. The additional increase on this, however, is for our single sign-on implementation and I guess add-on cost is what I'll call it. They charge extra for that, but that allows us to maintain our compliance with our cybersecurity insurance requirements for all the employees to utilize multi-factor with their accounts when they're logging in and doing what they do. That's what that $2,185. It's a combination of the 5% annual increase plus the single sign-on add-on cost.
Caesar, is that single sign-on add-on cost an annual fee or is it a one-time fee?
It is annual. It gets lumped in annually.
Oh, it's so painful. Okay.
It's if you want my honest opinion, I think it's ridiculous.
It's all they do. You're flipping a switch up front to turn it on.
It should be free, and they're nickel and diming, and it pisses me off, to be totally frank with you.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Orthophotography service, which is just our imagery. This is Nearmap. This is what the Board of Assessors uses primarily for doing their property inspections. When they can't make it out, this is how they do their measurements of property lines of buildings at houses and whatnot. This is also something that the building department uses to check if people are not pulling permits. Planning and zoning use it for the various permitting requests that come through. Essentially, this is a service that provides at least 2 updated flyovers of the town per year, as well as the historical backlog.
So it's
This is
level
level
funded.
funded.
Okay.
This is level funded.
So let's so when as we go through here, Caesar, just in the interest of brevity, if it's level funded, that's fine. And, like 3 or 4 words of what it is. I don't think we need, unless somebody on the committee wants a more in-depth explanation, we could just kind of move this along.
Okay. Senior center management. That's what they use to manage the records of the senior center. Level funded. Any questions? Okay. Cemetery management. Self-explanatory. So they use to manage a cemetery. It's level funded.
Is that just a database? Is that what that is? Okay.
Access database.
Yep.
It's $500 more than we probably should be paying, but
yeah, for access.
Network, endpoint security, and management. These, this is going down. These are our firewalls. Specifically, our firewalls that we have at the town hall, the Pope's Tavern, Highway Barn, and water department. Yep. All those firewalls are going end of life. In talking with our I'm trying to think of the word here. Sophos is who we use. We're looking at this cost might go down even more, as opposed to replacing them with firewalls. We're looking at consolidating and using some of their less, the more hardware that doesn't require subscription. So that way we don't have to incur that cost. It's more of a one-time expense to keep the buildings connected. As we continue to move things to the cloud, having all the buildings site to site is becoming less and less necessary. So that's why it's going down. I anticipate it to potentially go down lower, but this cost is mainly just covered our firewall licensing annually, as well as our antivirus, which hasn't changed. That's a minimal expense compared to the firewall licensing. I want to say it's like 80-20, usually split. Any questions?
Just one quick one. So you mentioned getting into the cloud. So where are we at in that process? 90% there, 80% there, 50% there? Because it doesn't see, if we can cut the cost, take the cost of the hardware out of the equation here by getting into the cloud, into a VPN.
Well, and that's stuff that we're still exploring. I have a call with them tomorrow, actually. So, like I said, that's why I said it might go down. But to be truthfully honest, the only thing that we have on premise that would require the site-to-site at this very moment would be file services, print services, and directory services to make sure they can log in into their computers. Which we're going to be exploring again, moving that to trying to leverage Microsoft to handle that, where we might not need it. That's why I said it. Yep.
That's.
Does that factor into the is electronic document management as well on here, Caesar, or is that something completely different? Because that's where my head was going when I was reading that line item as well.
So that is out. That is cloud based already, and that's right now what we're hosting. Like right now, I have all of our building, like all the building permits from OpenGov, all that stuff. I'm basically transposing onto that. So that's entirely separate.
Yeah.
So that's going to be more of that's going to be more of the file archive.
Yeah. To the point of the conversation you were just having with Jim, like you might be able to leverage a tool like SharePoint to serve that purpose for you through Microsoft in the future. That's what a lot of organizations do now. So
correct. And that would replace the file services part.
Right.
And then for directory services, it'd be Entra or Azure, however you refer to it now. That's those are the avenues that we are actively exploring and that I have meetings on in the next couple of weeks. That's why I said this cost may or may not, will likely go down more. and essentially only have to cover our antivirus for the devices. We might be getting rid of firewalls, is essentially my point. All right, any questions there? All right. Online permitting and licensing. This is OpenGov. This is what everyone does the building permits on, Board of Health permits. The increase here is the contractual 5% increase that we have to take on in order to maintain the subscription. Any questions there? All right. Digital signage and video surveillance. We've been very fortunate with the way that we've implemented our camera systems, that we haven't had to renew just due to the way that their licensing terms are lined. Oh, I'm sorry. Digital signage, that's level funded. That's what you see in the front of town hall and when you walk into the library, all that stuff. It's minimal expense and level funded. Video surveillance, that's the licensing for the cloud hosting of our enterprise camera system. Due to the licensing structure, as we continue to expand on the system, it kind of extends out that licensing period. So we've been fortunate enough that we haven't had to pay anything since about 2019, and then we do have one renewal that's coming up now, but we're covering that with what we have funds for that. So we should be good next year. Any questions there? All right. Electronic document management, that is our Laserfiche repository that is cloud-based, and that is where we're basically using that as the file archive, not so much in the sense of what you'd use SharePoint for, I guess, and depending on how you incorporate it, you probably could, but this will be more for archival. What you'd have in a file cabinet, this would be the electronic file cabinet, so to speak. And then anything in your SharePoint would just be irregular, working files. But that is a minimal increase. That's, I think, a 2.5–3% increase. Nothing too extravagant. Any questions there? Okay. Personnel management and payroll system, that was taken out. That's going to be incorporated into the treasurer collector's budget. So there's nothing there. Digital accessibility, compliance, and remediation. Back about a year and a half ago, the federal government, the Department of Justice, FBI, issued a ruling that kind of got very clear on what the local governments have to be compliant with in regard to Title II of the ADA Act in relation to digital accessibility. And they've imposed, they've outlined the specific requirements that were otherwise previously vague. Now, kind of putting pressure on towns by instituting a deadline depending on community size. The deadline for "quote unquote" our compliance for Halifax is April of 2027, and the $4,000 is really to help look into tools and resources to scan our website and make sure that our PDF documents are screen readable and our website is not is coded correctly, and to really check against those compliancy requirements, so that way we can't we don't get in trouble. That may go down. Based off what I've seen for products, that's kind of what I've estimated it to be, especially as we start to go through the remediation process. I suspect that as we continue to make sure that as we post things are ADA compliant already, or digitally ADA compliant, that cost should be able to go down because we won't be putting non-compliant stuff up moving forward. Any questions? Okay. And then outsourced IT services and support, that is, I cut that. I honestly haven't really used outside services or support in the past couple of years outside anything through ARPA, because $1,000 will get me one person for maybe an hour. So at today's rate, so it's something we probably shouldn't even budget for.
So I guess, Caesar, can we just pause on that line item for a second?
Sure.
Because a common theme that's come up throughout your presentation tonight has been, decisions that have to be made about, the moving forward for certain aspects of the IT infrastructure. And I think, one thing that is important is that it's a process in terms of making those decisions. So I guess my question for you is what do you have for support behind you to kind of explore your alternatives and figure out different ways to leverage the tools that we have in place? Is this truly you going around trying to figure it out on your own, or is there support baked in behind you to help do that? Because just based on the conversation we had tonight, that's a huge undertaking.
Oh yeah. I have me, myself, and I. It's usually, and then sometimes I have an imaginary friend. No, that's a joke. But I usually rely on my counterparts in other towns. I rely heavily on, working with state resources that are available. The state's EOTS office, which is my counterpart state agency, to help provide guidance and assist with the direction of certain things. A lot of it also is heavily dependent on working with the other department heads, and really they drive a lot of the initiatives, and then depending on where we go from there, then I kind of fall back on my networked relationships to try to fill that gap wherever I can.
Yeah, and I think that is, so if you're saying you haven't used the outside support in the last couple of years, I mean, we've identified areas where there's fairly significant cost savings opportunities within the IT bucket if we're able to make decisions on certain movements that would have to happen. So I think at some point we should prioritize that and figure out whether or not it's worth investing some dollars into outside support so that we can sort of move those decisions along, and get you this. Not that you can't do it. I'm not.
Oh no! You're going to give me money. I'll take it.
But it's some. I think we have to figure out a way to sit down and really dissect how we're using the technology tools that we have right now, and are we doing them in the most efficient way possible, both from a financial standpoint and a workload standpoint. That's all.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, ideally, I would like to have more in that bucket. Historically, a lot of money hasn't been. It's usually where the money comes out first, if I'm being totally honest. But I totally agree with you. I'm not going to say no to help. Anything else there? Okay. Equipment and supplies, the general office, that's, paper, toner, your regular office supplies, and miscellaneous thing, like I have to get, I Velcro straps, stuff like that. And then for the other stuff, the 6,000, that's like to cover broken printers, broken parts, broken monitors, that whole 9 yards. Unfortunately, a printer, a regular multifunction printer, costs about $650 now. The toner's $400 for a full set. If it's a color machine, things are just expensive. I level funded it because for the most part we've been pretty good. We've upgraded a lot of the stuff in a lot of the offices. Everything seems to be working, especially since over the past 10 years, we've gotten rid of all the broken, damaged equipment. So, we don't really have as many breaks. But if there's room for growth, I would say definitely the professional services and the equipment. Everything's just going up. But other than that, that is my budget proposal.
All right. Anybody have anything else for Caesar?
Thanks, Caesar.
Thank you, Caesar.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Caesar. Appreciate it.
No, anytime.
All right. Scott, I certainly do appreciate you hanging on as long as you have. Why don't we just go ahead and go through your budget request for 27?
All right. Thank you, guys. So you just want to go line number? It seems that that's how people have been doing it for the most part.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So my first one would be line 38. And that's for clerical. That's for Sue Johnston. That's her wages, $14,324. It's basically a level fund with her step increase.
Okay.
Next is line 39. It's our office expenses. We basically cut them in half. Well, level funding, and then for 10% reduction, we're going to cut them in half. So 450 down to 225 if we have to do a 10% cut. Line 40 is wages, and it's basically level funded, just step increases and a potential 2% increase for myself if that goes through. Nothing out of the ordinary there. If we have to do a 10% cut, we'd cut from the overtime budget, cut it from 23 down to 11,110. So far, so good?
So far.
All right. Onward. Line 41 is our expense budget. We're basically level funding it. We're coming up from 22,405 last year to 24,830 this year. Far less than things have gone up in the market. If we have to do a 10% budget cut, then we would knock that down to 22,347. Supplies are level funded from last year, 33,310. And if we have to do a 10% cut, we'd knock that down to 29,979. Line 42 is our preventive maintenance. We have a little bit of a change here. One thing that didn't make it to the sheet. So elevators, we had to increase by $1,700 because we did not include the $850 state inspection fee this year per elevator. So 2 elevators, $1,700. And then on the HVAC line, it's $10,000. There was a miscommunication between myself and the contractor. The way he said it was very confusing, so we talked it through. That's actually going to get cut down to $5,000 on the HVAC line.
Okay.
And that's a new line from last year. It's basically to maintain all the mini splits and the heat pumps that are getting put in.
So Scott, that doesn't include any of the normal HVAC. That's just the mini splits, basically.
Correct, for that line. Yep.
Yeah, and he's got to do that for $5,000 for all the units we have.
Yep.
That's just a basic maintenance, cleaning type operation.
Correct. Yep. Basically, clean the coils on the inside units, the outside units, check the pressures. check for leaks, filters, things like that. Anything else there?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Line 43 is snow and ice. We're anticipating level funding from last year, $2,000. If we have to do a 10% budget cut, we figured we'd cut $1,000 off of that. Normally, it would be an easy decision. This year, it wouldn't have been, but you roll the dice. Most of the years have been easy. So we'd attempt to take $1,000 from there.
Scott, speaking of this year, have you burned your 2,000 this year?
No, we stocked up last year. At the end of the year, we had some money left over. So we bought an extra pallet of ice melt.
Yeah.
And literally, we don't have much equipment. Really, we've got a couple, 3 snow blowers and shovels.
Right.
That's us. So we've been maintaining the snow throwers in-house instead of outsourcing it.
Right.
They used to drop them off at Morgan's. We do it in-house now.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward working on those.
Yeah, it's really not a whole lot to it.
Right.
So, we bought some ice melt last year, so we're in good shape this year.
And we got some more weather coming, so you say you're going to carry through your 2,000 this year. We shouldn't be looking for increases then for this year?
No,
Yeah,
we should be totally fine on ice, on snow and ice this year.
Okay.
The overtime's taking a hit this year with it.
Yeah, I would imagine.
But that's one of those things you can't forecast it.
Right. Well, we've been lucky the last few years with the rains. This year it's a little different. Colder this year and a lot more snow this year.
It's
and it
New
all
England.
came on the weekends this year too.
Right. That's New England. What are you going to do?
Right.
Next up is line 158. And that's heating oil, all departments. And basically, we asked for $53,000 last year. We'd ask for the same again this year.
Are we still on contract rates, Scott?
Yeah, we go out to bid every year. So
Every year?
every single year. Yep, we go out. We always get the option to go out on our own or to go out through the county bid. And we've gone out on our own once. We didn't like the results, so we ended up jumping onto the county bid. The downside to the county bid is anyone can bid on it. So a couple of years, we got companies from Worcester. Now, they send a truck from Worcester out to little old Halifax to fill our tanks. It was difficult many times to get them to come out. They don't want to come out for one building because it's not enough for the trip. But we'll get a better price. So price isn't everything. Sometimes convenience is too. But we also there's a clause in there that if we have an emergency, we can call anyone we want to fill the gap. So we've been using some local guys when we need to.
Right. So next year, fiscal 27, you're going to run a contract again?
Yep. We'd go up to the county bid probably again, unless Stephen has a different idea, bidding locally. But that's in the past, we've pretty much always gone with the county bid.
And we're doing okay this year on our heating oil because December's been a colder month. January has in the last 2-3 years as well.
Yeah, it's kind of balanced out because the oil prices have been dropping. So we kind of hit the sweet spot there.
Yeah. Okay, so we're not going to have an issue with that this year then?
Not this year. Something that we're going to have to think about, though, is the recycle center used to heat almost, the Bay Area would heat exclusively with waste oil. Well, people aren't changing their own oil anymore. They go out to Jiffy Lube or wherever. So they don't have the waste oil to get rid of. And the ones that do, you go further in between oil changes than you used to. Instead of 4,000, now you're going 5,000. So we have less waste oil. So this year we actually had to fill the tank with we had to buy heating oil to fill the tank a couple weeks ago. So I think that's going to be a growing trend over there.
Did we allocate for that? Oh, you don't do their budget, do you?
I don't do the recycle center budget, but I do the heating oil budget, which is
you do. Now. So did you account for that in the numbers then?
I didn't because we've always eked by on the waste oil.
But you're telling me we're not going to eke by. So 27's numbers don't have an escalator or anything in there?
No, because this is the first year we had to buy any. Last year, we got some from the highway barn. They usually have a surplus because they do all their own vehicles. So they usually have a surplus, and we get a little infusion from them. It's always been a little give and take. This is the first year we've had to buy any. So I don't know if it's going to, again, it was an extra cold winter this year. The bay is barely insulated, and when they're open for business, the overhead doors are open and closing all day long.
Right.
So it was a terrible year for heating for that one area.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And that's basically it. With the cuts that I mentioned, that cuts our budget. If we do all those cuts, it cuts our budget by $16,567.
Nice.
Okay, good work.
No.
Scott, just one quick question.
Sure.
On the, on line 40, you have there at least twice that I can see that the union contracts are not negotiated. How confident are you that these numbers are pretty solid?
I'm not.
Okay.
I have no idea. It's a hand grenade. I don't, I took a guess.
Sure.
Most of the time they've been getting 2% or so.
Right.
So we had to throw something in there because I don't think they've even really started negotiations.
Okay.
So, I didn't know. They've been talking about overriding the town. They've been talking about a bunch of different stuff. So I have no idea where that's going to land. So I think I threw 2% in there.
Yeah, you did. I was just trying to, is that, if that's just a kind of a rough guess or if it was something you felt really good about. That's all.
It's a rough guess. That, they haven't really been getting less than 2%.
Right.
So I figured this year where things are tight, I didn't think they'd get more than 2%.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Anybody have any other questions for Scott and the buildings? All right. Scott, thanks for hanging on the call as long as you did. Certainly do appreciate that.
Definitely. Thank you,
Scott.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will close out the budget reviews for the 4 departments that we have covered. We've already had the Board of Health agent update. I did put a note in here for the Government Study Committee update. We're going to bypass that for this specific meeting because we have some order of operations things that we need to take care of before we get the results in front of the Finance Committee for their review and understanding. And I think that's happening at the next Board of Selectmen meeting, which is next Tuesday, I believe. So once that's complete, once that step is done, then I'll bring those back to the Finance Committee for your edification. That said, bypassing that takes us to Mr. Solbo and his town administrator update.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the floor. I've got a quick 5 slides to present to you, probably what everyone's sort of been waiting for. It will clarify the picture, it will get people thinking. And this was something we worked on, and me and Lindsay and Linda have been working on along with Sandy Nolan and some others, for more than a week now. So let me share my screen. You guys seeing that?
Not yet. There it is.
Go.
All right. So I want to preface this by saying, first and foremost, that this is just an update, just to give you guys, again, an idea of where we stand. And these numbers are still a little pliable, but we're pretty confident we're right there. So here's the first slide. Here's our estimated deficit right off the bat. I'm looking off to my right at times at the budget sheet, as from time to time, just to check on it. It's, as it stands now, it's just slightly under $1,100,000. And then if you look at the 2 options that have always been stated on the budget sheet, the general rule of thumb is to try to maintain a $300,000 buffer to the levy limit. So that gives you some ability to be flexible with funds towards the end of the year. And also that you don't have to necessarily collect that amount of money either. You just sort of leave it there so you're not up against the ceiling, essentially, as it stands now. The ceiling is obviously the 2.5% of the total value of all buildings in the town. We're not even there yet. So there you go. There's the basic variance of what we're looking at. We're pretty confident in this number as it stands today. This is just to show the basic budget discipline that everyone practiced in developing their budgets. I want to commend all the department heads. I didn't get to take part in all the budget meetings, but I have been crunching the numbers since. And here's your basic 10,000-foot view. You can see that, I broke it down a little bit more in detail. General government, which covers the selectman's office, law, town accountant, IT, assessors, treasurer, collector, town clerk, myself, Board of Health, conservation, planning, building. That was a 2.6% increase. Police went up on their line item as a whole department as 4.9%. Fire was 7.3%, which brought total safety as an entire, when you add in dispatch and you add in animal control as well, those budgetary items, public safety lines all added up to about a 5.5% increase from last year. Health and Human Services, which is, again, some of these numbers can be a little deceiving, so take them as you go. Health and Human Services, when we look at the funding levels versus the other departments, is obviously a fraction. So when we see a 6.7% decrease in their budget from last year, it doesn't equate to what the police and fire are doing. So just keep that in mind. Culture and Recreation saw a 1.1% increase. Schools saw a 2.3% increase, and Highway saw a 2% increase. Now, here's your fixed cost drivers. These are your big ones. Plymouth County Retirement increased by 7.6% up to $2,187,571 for this year. Group Insurance Town Share increased by 14.2% up to $1,522,003. And then our mixed insurance through Maya, which covers workman's comp, disability, license, property, and basically the Maya catalog was an 8% increase up to $383,000. And then when you look at the revenues, which is the other reason why we're in the situation we're in right now, if you look at FY26, which is actually numbers from 2025, and then you compare them to what we're using to estimate this year's budget, which is essentially 2026 estimates, right? You look at the change. So the tax levy shows that 2.6% increase of $539,000. Local receipts, based on crunching and scrutinizing those at a very high level today, we're going to see, with a conservative estimate, of about a loss of about $173,000, down about 6%. State aid went up about 2.2%, about $100,000 overall. New growth went up about $40,000 from where it was last year, estimated at about 75, which again, the percentage increase is deceptive because it's a much smaller amount of money. And then if you look at the total, and you see the 28 million versus another 28 million number, and you see a net increase of 0.5% in revenue over last year. And you even couple that in with the expenditures that we saw, that top of the screen right there alone shows you a huge difference in why we stand where we are today. Compound that with the fact of last year's decision to throw $750,000 of new cash, basically starting this year off in a deficit. Heading into this year. Basic principle is whatever you put in free cash, you could almost double that from next year. And we're sort of at that place now where we're at 1.1 to 1.4. Halifax probably did a little bit better than other communities on the whole, in the fact that they invested $750,000 in free cash last year and essentially made up a little bit of ground on that. They should have been at 1.5, but we're looking at 1.1 to 1.4. So, any questions?
Stephen, on the local receipts, do we kind of know what drove that number?
Yeah, so let me bring up that sheet. I'm not going to share it, but I will
Yeah,
kind of go
just
down the list.
roughly where it's coming.
Yeah, I'll give you an idea. Our biggest differences that we saw from, these are estimates that we're saying, because we're looking at what the state is telling us to estimate for this year, and then we're comparing these to 2025 actual numbers. So we saw like $100,000 drop in motor vehicle excise. We saw a $30,000 to $40,000 drop in meals tax. We estimate a $20,000 loss in cannabis tax. We estimate $20,000 lost in penalties and interest taxes and excise taxes. Overall, this is another separate line item. Another larger item is other charges for services line. In actual 2025, it was $762,000. We're estimating this year it's $685,000. Other line items that are on that same level of magnitude, building permits, for instance, 2025, $228,000. This year, we're estimating conservatively at $199,000. Go down a little bit further. There's some slight variances. Investment income is down a little bit, 65 in 2025, down to about 56 estimated this year. And then you're seeing pretty much drops everywhere else of 3 to 5K and the other line items that are of lower magnitude. So every line, if you looked at the tax recap sheet like that I was looking at today, it was showing -14 to -15% on almost every line item in the revenue sheet across the board. And I tighten those up to figure out, and to bring them closer to what I think more market conditions are reflecting and what they may reflect moving forward. And again, it was really tweaking the budget sheet. And just to say, we started at a number that was much larger than this, and we've drilled down to this. And now the big questions have to be asked. Because like we showed, it's $1.1 million, and we have a conservative estimate on free cash of about $1.1 to $1.2 million. So that gives you all the parameters you need in order to start thinking about the whole picture. I've started to think about it and started to go through various layouts in my head. And I'm sure the Board of Selectmen has started to do the same. So the picture will become clearer probably in the next coming weeks very quickly, and especially before the warrant closes on March 10th, because we have to have everything in at least staged for how many budgets we're going to propose. So, any questions?
Steve, thank you for that. That was very helpful.
You're welcome.
So if we're closing the warrant on March 10th, when is the budget being presented? When is the joint meeting between the selectmen and the finance committee to present the budget?
We looked that up the other day. What was that? Last year it was on.
We're right up against the window last year.
I mean, we've got obviously we've only got, 3 weeks between now and then? Between the 10th? March 10th?
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Thought we penciled in a tentative date, didn't we?
Not that I was aware of.
I thought we talked about that in one of our meetings. We put some dates out there.
Let's see. Last year joint meeting was on March 25th, 2025. Right. Last year.
Right. So why is there a reason we're closing the warrant so early this year?
It closed on the same date last year.
Okay.
So it's following, and the BOS does have the option to extend that. So that's up to them though.
All right. Right. It's their call. Sure.
Yeah, I'll be actually working on the warrant most of the day tomorrow.
Okay.
Going through last year's warrant and making sure all the articles on there. Basically, before the warrant closes, we just need to have the placeholders in place so that we can work on, the articles moving forward closer to the meeting.
Correct.
So that being said, I think the biggest question that needs to be answered is how many budgets do we propose? And that's for a lot of, I think, people to decide, but ultimately the BOS.
Yeah, Jim, I'm showing 2 dates here. Joint meeting March 24th with the Board of Selectmen, and then in March 16th we penciled in FinCom budget approvals.
Right. That's it. Right. Because that's what I have.
Yeah,
I mean,
16th and 24th is what I'm showing.
So right. So we had this meeting. Then I had scheduled. We have the meeting on the 2nd of March, where I was hoping to have the library, the elementary school, and highway, and then the following Monday would be the 9th for the elementary school if they can't make the 2nd. But then any other department head that we would want to have come in on the 9th. But we can certainly hold the 9th out as like the, to go over whatever budget Stephen comes up with, Stephen, if that works for you. But then, we have the 24th was when I had approximated us meeting jointly with the selectmen.
Right. That's what I'm showing as well. So same as last year's schedule.
Right. And then last year on the 7th of April is when we went through and reviewed the budget, or not the budget, but the warrant, all the warrant articles is when we did that last year.
Correct. Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep. So March 9th.
Yeah. So March 9th. Well, that's a Monday, Stephen. So the selectmen would meet on the 10th. So do we want to do it on the 10th? Just so we just join their meeting?
Good question. I can ask them.
So we'll schedule ours. We'll
Jim,
schedule one for the 9th. I'm sorry?
Jim, I thought we did it as part of our meeting because of the other agenda items that they had in their meeting from last year, if I remember correctly.
That might be true. I'd have to go back to my notes.
I think EJ's right.
Okay.
Jim,
Whatever
if I
works
may.
for the committee. Whatever works for the committee.
I believe, Jim, it was a case of, it's a pretty considerable amount of things we have to go through.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to get kind of tied up with the usual comings and goings of our selectmen meeting. So we had it, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, we came to you guys and that was just we banged it out there as opposed to trying to squish it into a selectmen meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Then we'll set that up for the 9th then, Stephen.
Yeah.
Okay.
27 days to come up with 3 budgets. All right. I can do that.
Will that be, is that in person or remote? Just to be
The 9th?
Yeah.
Well, the second is our normal in person.
Right.
So if we're going to meet with the selectmen as a joint meeting, it should be a subsequent in person meeting also.
Yeah.
So Lindsay, if you could coordinate with the library and the highway department to come to speak to their budgets on the 2nd, and just ping the elementary school to see if they're ready to, if they have something pretty solid. For the 2nd, and then the 9th, we'll just follow up with the Board of Selectmen and have a budget review.
Sounds good.
So we'll do
Stephen, thoughts?
We'll do the review on the 9th, Jim, instead of going to the selectmen meeting on the 10th.
Yeah. But so the 2nd and the 9th will both be in person at Town Hall.
All right. Provided the selectmen's on board with that. See, Jonathan's on. Maybe he can weigh in.
Is that a fat joke, Jim? Did you just make a fat joke?
Hey, that wasn't me. I didn't say that.
Oh, I'm getting my follically challenged guys.
You're getting your bald guys
confused here. Yeah. No, Frank, that's fine. And I am trying to remember, guys, if memory serves me well, when we had to make our decision on whether or not to officially put an override on town meeting. So I'm trying to think if that's the meeting after our meeting with you guys, which might be the March 10th. But I'll have to double check and see what that timeline should be.
You think that's when you'll make the decision, Jonathan? Is on?
I think we're gonna have. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to, Frank.
Right. Yeah.
Because if it is,
right.
If it is in the cards, then the sooner we get word out to the public, the better. I will say, I must admit, I kind of came in and out of your meeting here tonight, but I think our departments have done a fantastic job with trying to come in as lean a budgets as possible. I mean, they saw the writing on the wall. You guys have all seen the news from all the communities across the state. We knew we were up against it. Stephen's done a great job. And originally it was a much scarier number. I won't say catastrophic, but it was a much bigger number. So for them to find for them to come in smaller and for them to, double check numbers and get a little bit creative, I think they've done a great job with coming in a little bit over $1 million right now. So that's going to be up to the board whether we want to look to offer the override to the public or slash our budget. So that's where we're at. And I guess that's my challenge for you guys. If we do go the override route, guys, look at this budget. Where do you see we can make up $1 million? And get creative and put your heads together and see what we can come up with. Because we want to make sure we give it the yeoman's work and try to get this thing passed if the override is on the table. But if it's not, once we put stuff out there as on the override, if it doesn't pass, those are the things that need to go. So, whatever. I put my faith in my FinCom. I love our FinCom, and I'm sure you guys will help us come up with something.
Yeah. We are all working hard on it.
Yeah. Much appreciated.
Okay. Anything else, Stephen, for your update?
Nope, that's all I've got for tonight. I'm going to get hard to work on a couple of ideas, at least a few anyways. Then can't hurt to have too many and let you guys sort
Very true.
So we'll figure it out. I'm confident.
Yeah, we'll get it done.
I'm confident we'll get through to the other side. I'm
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
not afraid of that. That's for sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Stephen, for the update. Absolutely appreciate it. Yes, it's a much better number than what I had calculated probably a couple months ago. We thank you for that, and thank everybody at Town Hall, Lindsay, and your team for kind of batting those numbers down, including the department heads.
Yeah, everybody's worked hard pulling things together here, so it's important that everybody understands that and appreciates what each department's going through to make it happen, and everybody's hard work that's getting put in here, because there's still a lot more to go to get where we need to be here.
Yep, more work to be done.
Absolutely.
More work to be done. All right. Okay. So that said, we will close out the town administrator update agenda item, and we will move into correspondence and as may arise. I have not gotten any emails from the residents for the finance committee. Unless anyone else has gotten something that they would like to kind of speak about, or something that they would like to chat with the committee about while we are all here. Okay, hearing none, we will close out that agenda item, moving into public participation. So for anyone from any member of the public have any question for the finance committee? Very good. Hearing none, we will close out the public participation agenda item and move into next meeting planning, which we have already discussed. So the next meeting will be the 2nd of March, Town Hall in person. We will talk to the library. If we can get the elementary school in, that'd be great, and the highway department to review their budgets. And then we will meet again on the 9th, which will be that following Monday, which will be at Town Hall in person with a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. Both meetings start at 6 p.m. Anybody have anything else before we close our meeting? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Rod. Motion and a second. So roll call vote. Mike Bennett,
Yes.
Frank Johnston,
Yes, to adjourn, please.
EJ,
Yes.
Mike Rignetta,
Yes.
and Rod.
Yes.
I am a yes as well. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks everybody for the hard work tonight.
Thank
Have a
you
great
all.
night.
Thank you all very much. Great meeting, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Very good.
Have a good one, everybody.